Okay, so as Ian mentioned, Altigen is a communications company following Microbics. Sometimes people confuse our name with a biotech company, so we're very much not a biotech company and focused on the communication space. So we'll get started. I'm not going to read this. I'm sure you guys can all read better than I can, but I do want to do the obligatory safe harbor statement, which essentially will disclaim everything I'm going to tell you guys today. Okay, so I'm going to provide an overview. What I'll do in the presentation first is provide an overview of Altigen, who we are, what we do. I'll give a very brief background on how we've gotten to where we are today, and then focus most of the presentation on where we're going. So we are very much focused on Microsoft Stack, as they call it, for communications. So we develop products, and we also host many of those solutions in our data center or in Azure. Today, we have over 100,000 VoIP endpoints deployed, and if a VoIP endpoint can also be considered a telephone, okay? And I have more than 20,000 subscribers today that are in our cloud. The difference being we have a lot of on-premise customers that have yet to migrate to the cloud. So our solutions include SIP trunks. So if folks aren't familiar with that, that's simply voice over IP, connecting your voice traffic to the public switch telephone network over the internet, and that we sell that solution, as well as our applications. And our applications deal with unified communications, customer experience solutions, as well as contact centers or service solutions. And in addition to building these products ourselves, we also provide the migration. Customers migrate from something to what we have, deployment services, as well as training and support. So we are based in Silicon Valley, and we have our European headquarters in the UK, and we also have our Asia Pacific quarters in Taipei, Taiwan. So real briefly on the financial summary, trailing 12 months revenues are 11.2 million. As Ian mentioned, just about $8 million of those are cloud revenues. So our cloud revenue multiple is about 6.1 today when you look at our market cap. And we do have no debt, 6.4 million in the bank, and we have 23.4 million shares outstanding. So we have a 3-year growth target, which will conclude in, at least for this period, we're talking today through the end of 2024, of 30% cumulative average revenue growth. And so how we're going to do that, we have a bunch of new solutions coming out that I'll be talking to you guys about, dealing with unified communications, contact center, as well as customer experience. And these will allow us to enter some new and mostly high growth markets. As you might imagine from our positioning and building on top of the Microsoft stack, we have a very close alignment with Microsoft. This is creating many new business opportunities for us with Microsoft Teams. We also have a strategic partnership with Fiserv. If you're not familiar with Fiserv, this is a $15 billion financial services company. They sell pretty much everything you can imagine of financial services, but where our focus with them is on banks and credit unions, where they offer software to automate the entire business operations of those financial institutions. And then finally, we concluded just about this time last year an acquisition of a company called Blue Panda, which has brought some exciting new technology to us. We've also added several new key executives to really solidify the company and position us for growth going forward. So just real briefly from our background, and I've got a number of different pictures here, so I'm just going to go left to right, because people do ask me, okay, why aren't you guys growing faster? What's going on here? Well, I started here in 2007, and we were very much a hardware-centric company. So we sold telephones, we sold computer servers, we sold boards, all kinds of low profit margin hardware that drove our software to be able to sell a business telephone system. And I basically killed that. It took a little while to do it though. And over time, we've eliminated all of the hardware. We migrated first to all software. And as soon as we got to all software, then we could start enabling our solutions in the cloud. So if you look left to right, it's a complete metamorphosis from 0 monthly recurring cloud revenue 10 years ago to substantial cloud revenue. And I guess I should have updated that. Should be 7.7 million. But and no hardware revenue today. And with that, we've also generated company growth and most importantly, profits. We lost almost $2 million in that 2010 number and made over $1 million in 2010. So there's a big difference with the new business model. But this new business model, this is just a starting point for us. And I'll talk about that going forward. So by getting rid of the hardware, going to software, enabling our solutions in the cloud, we call that our cloud first business foundation. Here, now we're building upon this foundation with our new solutions, and I will talk about these new solutions. I'll also provide a brief overview on what these acronyms mean. We've optimized our organization across the board. We've probably had about, in the last year, something along the lines of 30% turnover. Now, a lot of that is because we hired a bunch of new people. Some of it is because some of the folks in the old legacy organization weren't the right fit for our new cloud business. And we've also had a big focus on expanding our distribution in terms of recruiting Microsoft partners, expanding our relationship with Fiserv, which is sold direct through their hundreds of account managers, and a focus on direct enterprise sales as well. Something newer to the mix is strategic acquisitions. So we're evaluating a number of Microsoft partners right now to add into Altigen, looking for synergistic technical skills and the ability to cross into our customer base. So these combination of capabilities that are all coming together right now really create, I think, the perfect storm for us to drive new revenue growth going forward. So I mentioned I would just give you guys a brief overview on these different markets, these different communications markets. So you've probably heard the term UCaaS, which stands for Unified Communications as a Service. And it used to just be called Unified Communications, but when companies started hosting it or offering it as a cloud service, now it's Unified Communications as a Service. The real business drivers for that, honestly, the number one is there's still a lot of companies that have premise PBXs. And it just doesn't make sense to maintain a premise PBX anymore on premise, so in the customer's building. So organizations have been and will continue to migrate those premise PBXs to the cloud. In addition, in the old world, the PBX, you could do phone calls, and that was it. Now with unified communications, it adds the ability for instant messaging, real-time presence, as well as web conferencing right into the same application, and therefore the term unified communications. And this has also taken off, again, it's got a second growth spurt really because of COVID, with now employees working from home, the need to have unified communications, instant messaging, et cetera, is more important than ever. On the contact center side, again, contact center as a service. Contact center has been around a long time. But the big growth driver here, again, is companies would have spent millions of dollars implementing a contact center on premise. Now they can go to the cloud and do it, implement that same solution for a few $100s a month per contact center agent. So that's the number one driver. It's more efficient and more cost effective to have a cloud solution than on-prem. The other big driver is customers realize, or companies realize, they need to be more customer responsive. Customers today don't just want to call a call center, like an airline reservation center, just call. No, they want to be able to email you. They want to be able to web chat, SMS, even post social media messages, right, and get a response. And that's what the omni-channel component is taking all the different types of media, bundling it together and distributing it to the appropriate person in the company so we can respond to a customer request. And similar to the PBX, one of the big drivers, again, to create a growth spurt was COVID with work at home. The newest market opportunity, and to me, the fastest growing opportunity is customer experience as a service. So now that companies are migrating to unified communication solutions, they've deployed a contact center in many cases. Now they're looking to how can we better serve our customers? And imagine a customer today, right, using an iPhone. How can they communicate with a company? They can call, they can email, they can web chat, they can SMS, they can post a social media message. They can use something like WeChat. They have lots of options. In fact, the customer has more options to contact a company than a company has options to respond. And this is where Altigen comes in. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the companies are realizing they need to be able to satisfy their customer demands for a digital engagement experience, and then have analytics so they can see how customers are reacting with them and how they can then improve that customer experience or customer journey going forward. Because I think we all know, without seeing any studies, it's 10 times harder to acquire a new customer than it is to maintain an existing customer. And I think some of the CIOs are getting smarter today and realizing that. Okay, so with that, Communications 101, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the market today and where Altigen fits in. So the traditional business communications environment really consists of two technologies. On the left-hand side, we have unified communications. It was a PBX. As I mentioned, that PBX is now migrated to unified communications, or UC. And that's the general purpose. Most of the employees use that as their business communications system. On the right, we've got the contact center. And the contact center is designed, companies didn't have a better way. What if a customer needs to contact us and has all kinds of questions, wants to place an order, make a reservation, do whatever? Let's just create a group of people essentially completely separate from the rest of the organization to do nothing but deal with customer requests. And that's called the contact center. But it's only a small percentage of the employees, and in most enterprises, 5 or 10% of the people sit in the contact center. And the reason it doesn't get any bigger rollout, even though it can perform all sorts of nice omni-channel capabilities, it's expensive. And so on average, it's $150 a month to $300 a month per user. It can get much more expensive than that as well. So it really, compared to a PBX, it's 10 times more expensive, which limits its ability to be rolled out in the enterprise. So that is my comment, that there is a significant functionality and price gap between these two existing technologies in use by business today. So what's the new trend? And really the trend is for maximizing the customer experience. 9 out of 10 CIOs today in any size enterprise, mid-size to very large enterprise, this maximizing the customer experience, digital transformation, digital customer engagement, all these terms that essentially mean the same thing, is on the roadmap for these CIOs. Everyone needs to get there. And so what does that mean? It means the ability to enable all of your customer-facing employees. When I say customer-facing, sales, marketing, customer service, even for large organizations, their customers are internal. So IT help desk and accounting, they all have customers to serve. And maximizing the customer experience gives these customer-facing employees the ability to engage with all of their customers using the customer's preferred communications channel. If I want to SMS somebody and get a response, I don't want the company force me to make a phone call, right? So that's the idea. Let's the customer choose how they want to communicate, and the company needs to be able to respond in like fashion. And so I call that digital customer engagement. That's where Altigen is coming in and attacking this problem. And as I said, I believe this is the hottest trend in business communications today. And what we have to address that we're just now rolling out is CoreInteract. This came from our Blue Panda acquisition. And it is the first, and today only, integrated digital customer engagement platform for Microsoft Teams. Now we'll port that to our other platform that I'll discuss in a little bit. But right now it's designed for Microsoft Teams to take Teams to a full digital customer engagement platform. And I have some stats on Teams, but I would imagine everyone on this call is aware that the growth of Teams has just been nothing short of unbelievable. And so that creates a great opportunity for us. And so our digital customer engagement solution is targeted at these customer-facing or customer-engaging employees. We automate them with the tools they need to engage with the customers. And the price points are right. We deliver 80% of the functionality of the contact center at 20% of the cost. That's our mission. And we're in the process of accomplishing that now so we can get the significant rollouts in the company, not 5 or 10%, but 20, 30, 40% of the employees on the digital customer engagement platform. So in addition to CoreInteract, yes, we do have a unified communications solution. It's called MicroCapClub. And yes, we have an omni-channel contact center solution. It's called FrontStage. So collectively, when I say uniquely, my title here, there's not another company anywhere in the world that I'm aware of that addresses all three of these markets with their solution set. And so that's where we're focused on, really focus on digital customer engagement. But in order to do that, you have to meet the other pieces as well. So you can go into a company and say, yes, I can handle all of your communication requirements, from basic unified communications through digital customer engagement through the omnichannel contact center. Now, One of the reasons we're so excited here is because these products are just coming out. So everything we've done to date, all the revenues, all the cloud growth is 100% based on our old technology. Everything we're looking at here is based on the new solutions that we're releasing, and you can see the release dates here. So as we get these products out to market and start gaining momentum, we're going to see, we're going to be rewarded with revenue growth. So real quickly, just want to touch on the opportunity with Microsoft Teams now that you guys are all communications experts. We've been talking, for folks that have been listening to the earnings calls, we've been talking about the ability to add our applications to Teams and have been dependent on the Microsoft Communications APIs or the Graph APIs for some time. Those are now available. So now that they're available, okay, Katie bar the door, we can roll our solutions out. And where are we going to roll them out to? Well, Teams today has over 650,000 organizations that have deployed Teams, nearly 150 million users using Teams. And I talk about the daily active users. Microsoft has recently come out with a monthly active user, which to me is an oxymoron. I don't know how you're active if you're monthly. So we're going to focus on the daily active users, which is a whole bunch. And it results in about, and this is just from a target market perspective, about 225 users per customer on average. And I'll talk about where we're going to zero in on this market because I can't address all 650,000 companies globally overnight. But our solutions, and I'm not going to, unless anybody has any questions, I'm just going to lightly touch on these. So we provide the SIP trunk communication services, phone service, if you will, for Teams. We provide the omnichannel contact center. And then very soon here, as we're rolling out our Core Interact, the enterprise, our digital customer engagement. And I'm showing you the average, the ARPC is the average revenue per customer. Every customer doesn't choose every solution. So I've tried to summarize it here at the bottom and saying what you can expect from a Teams customer is probably something on the order of about $3,750 a month for every Teams, on average, for every Teams customer that we close. So that's opportunity number one. Opportunity number two is Fiserv. And Fiserv, with the Altigen solutions really becomes a fintech play because it is a financial services offering with the integrated communications capabilities. So hang on 1 second here, guys. Okay. So the opportunity with Fiserv, again, I had mentioned this is a $15 billion organization. We've been working with them for some time. They have many of our solutions integrated directly into their own product offerings. We have an exclusive distribution agreement with them. So Fiserv sells the Altigen solutions on a white label basis into their 10,000 financial institution customers. And they sell it through their direct sales force. So today we have our solutions in use by nearly 3,000 of those. Not all of our solutions, some of our solutions. So there's still tremendous upside. And those include our bank by phone applications today as the majority of it, but we're also rolling out, in the process of rolling out with Fiserv as we speak, a new secure access SIP trunk service that we can also provide in addition to the SIP trunk service. It's a phone, it's phone service. We're adding into it, and we just have added into it the ability for caller verification because there's so much fraud going on. With companies now, or not companies, well, maybe there's some are companies, but scam artists that call in, spoof the caller ID of the account holder, and somehow get through and get access to the account. And of course, the money's gone. And so we help prevent that by proving that the caller is the caller before they get through to their account. That's what that service does. And then, of course, Fiserv also sells today our PBX. They are moving to our new UCaaS solution. They sell today a limited version of our contact center. In fact, but they're moving to the new contact center. And in fact, I have one customer deployed on the new contact center front stage today. And so, again, in a similar fashion, the average revenue that I can expect from a Fiserv customer is about $3,500 per month. The final piece is our legacy base. We have a whole bunch of customers. We've been around for a long time. So we have about 500 customers today that sit in our cloud, with about 20,000 subscribers, as I mentioned. We still have another 1,000 customers that we haven't yet been able to convince to move to the cloud. So they're still using our software, our phone system on premise. And they have collectively about 40,000 users. So our target with our new UC platform is to get these companies migrated, as many as we can, into the cloud and grow that cloud base. In addition, because our solution is very much Microsoft centric, and we have a lot of resellers that call on the SMB market and they sell Microsoft solutions, there's a very large base of Microsoft customers out there using Office 365, which we integrate with, that we can also sell to. And I say we can sell to, that would be through our channel. So on the SMB side, our typical customers between 20 and 100 employees. I think we average about 35 employees on this side of the business. They're all Microsoft customers, every one of them. And that's what I like about our system. And for the new customers, we're converting customers that have on-premises phone systems. We're migrating to the cloud. Okay, and you can see the solutions. The contact center is much, these UCaaS numbers are lower than you would see on Teams and Fiserv, and the contact center is lower than you would see on Teams and Fiserv because these are much smaller customers. So this average revenue, monthly revenue per customer is about $650, just to give you an idea. So every new customer, I would expect to gain $650 a month as we bring them on board. All right, so how does this all come together? What does this mean? All of our solutions, Front Stage, the Core Interact, and the Max Cloud, they all have integration points. They're all delivered from our cloud. And based on the features required by the customer, we can sell these into our Teams audience, a Fiserv base, or the Altigen base. So it gives us a lot of flexibility based on whatever the customer needs in terms of communications. We've got an integrated solution set to meet those requirements. So for Microsoft Teams, target market, I just want to give you guys an idea. We call on larger companies. So larger company to us is, on a direct basis, we focus on 1,000 to 5,000 employees. Our partners, we have a lot of Microsoft partners. They tend to be in the 100 to 500 space. So I expand this here to say between the our direct organization and our channel partners, we sell to companies between 100 and 5,000 employees. Excuse me. You can see we have over 60 Microsoft partners right now that we've recruited, mostly in the last year with these solutions. That's going to continue to grow. And we also have 6 enterprise sales managers. Is that as we roll these solutions out, they're going to target the larger end, the higher end of that spectrum. As I move to Fiserv, they have, I mentioned on a previous slide, about 10,000 customers, financial. They have more than 10,000 customers, but 10,000 that are financial institutions. And out of that, there's about 8,000 of those that fall into, some are kind of small, too small to mess with, and some are quite large. Let's say the Bank of America's of the world. So our focus with Fiserv is in this SMB to mid-market segment of roughly 25 to 250 employees. I don't know that we have any smaller than 25. We have some customers that have 1,000 employees with Fiserv today, but the majority fall into this category. And our distribution channel is 100% through Fiserv. They have hundreds of field account managers that are selling our products. They're sold as a Fiserv product, so you would never hear the Altigen name. It's Fiserv. And the beauty of that is they also get compensated. Those salespeople get compensated as if it were a Fiserv product, which means they're going to go sell it. So as we continue to roll these new solutions out, we'll get more and more traction from Fiserv. Then finally, we look at our own legacy base. This is how we got our start. Yeah, and this is still a good cash cow for us. This market is not going to grow as fast as the others, but it's profitable and generates cash. Those are two pretty good terms, I think, to live by. If we did nothing else but be profitable and generate cash, we could be doing worse. But we're going to use that to fund the growth businesses. And you can see again, I talked about the size of customers we sell to. This is largely distributed. We don't do any direct business with these customers. It's largely through the Altigen legacy resellers, that one that have been around for years. And we also see a lot of Microsoft partners that want to sell our UCaaS solution because they have smaller customers, and Teams is just a little more than their customers willing to bite off. So that was kind of a surprise to us that we see the Microsoft partners interested in our UCaaS solution instead of Teams, but that's great. We can go either way. We can support both. So because of this, that we do both channel and direct, and we've got such a large distribution network within the Fiserv sales team, we have a model that will readily scale and rapidly scale as we move into the mid-market enterprise sales, just by sheer volume of being able to leverage this channel that we've built up. Okay, so this is my summary slide, guys. So I'm missing something on here. The unprecedented launch of new solutions are fueling our growth. I'm not sure what happened to this slide here, this title, but we talked about before that we've got a 30% growth target over the next 3 years, and this is the new Altigen. If folks that have been familiar with us for years saw what we were doing before and are following what we're doing now, this is a completely new opportunity, right? Leveraging all these new solutions and new markets that are all coming together, really for the perfect storm, as I said. But in addition to these new solutions, we haven't stood still. We've added new key executives, we've top graded, we've realigned our personnel, we've doubled our product development team so that we're prepared to go after these new opportunities. And in addition, we are actively looking at Microsoft Microsoft partners, for acquisition, because I need technical skill sets, and I need more salespeople. So we've got Microsoft partners that are very good. They're focused on the same areas we are, and they have the sales and technical skill sets. They have the customer base that we can leverage and cross-sell into. And so we're looking at that, and those that can deliver the greatest synergy for us and can add accretive value to us, then we'll look at doing transactions with them. So I think when this all comes together, we're going to see this new Altigen is also going to result in very new and exciting growth opportunities. Okay, so that is my presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share now, and I believe we can open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Jerry, for that presentation. First of all, first question is, I believe several of your competitors, such as 8x8 and RingCentral, say that they integrate with Microsoft Teams. Can they do what that you do?
Well, I hate to call them liars, but they're not truthful. So let me just put it that way. Their integration with Teams means that they're using their own platform, and they're simply using the Teams, using the Teams application to deliver their own calls. It has pretty much nothing to do with Teams, but some people might believe them. There's a big difference, and maybe I can explain that, Mike. In order to integrate with Teams, you need to use Teams phone system to transport voice. 8x8 and RingCentral, they use their own phone system to transport voice. They already have their own UC components, their instant messaging, presence, video conferencing. They don't use Teams for that. They use their own. So there is no really integration between the platforms. They simply plug their application into Teams and call it integration, but it's still completely an 8x8 or RingCentral platform. And the customers are wise to that.
So you've referenced resellers in place and pipeline opportunities in past conference calls. There was something like 58 resellers and over 100 opportunities in the August call. Mm-hmm. Can you talk for a minute about how and why the resellers are engaging with Altigen, what kind of leverage that gives you for new revenue, and lastly, what is the typical sales cycle for closing opportunities now that the Microsoft product is nearing launch?
Yeah, okay, is that one question? I'll pick those off one at a time. Yeah, so our partner channel is continuing to grow. The pipeline is continuing to grow. The average sales cycle, Mike, I'm going to tell you 6 months because that is the traditional. I mean, some partners, are they bringing me a qualified opportunity? Do I have to work it longer? Most of the partners, they treat us and utilize us as their subject matter expert. Right, so we come in and do everything pretty much. I won't call it quite white label because the company, their customer knows who we are, but we are their strategic business partner. And the reason they want to work with us is because they are not experts in this field. We are. So because we provide the SIP communications, the phone service, we provide the contact center, we provide the call recording, all the applications that a business needs to run Teams phone system in addition to what Microsoft provides, we provide that. And there's no other company that does that. So if they don't work with us and they want to be involved with Teams phone system, they have to go pick their own partners and then cobble together these different products to support them on behalf of the customer, which is not their bailiwick. So that's why they're interested in working with us.
So I believe this question is a more of a trailing historical question. How fast is cloud recurring revenue growing on a short-term basis? And then how difficult are comps as we lap the COVID period?
What was the last part of the question, Mike?
How difficult are the comps as we lap the COVID period?
What does that mean?
I think what they're saying is for quarter over quarter, or
Oh, right. Okay.
Q1 next year versus Q1 this year, how hard is it going to be? Or not specifically that quarter, but in general.
Sure. Okay. Now that I think we have, I'll sort of answer this in a little bit of reverse order. I think we've pretty much experienced the worst of COVID, where I think that we've talked about in past calls that we did lose a number of subscribers, and I didn't lose so many subscribers from a company. I lost companies because they're SMB and they didn't get PPP and they're out of business. That was our biggest challenge. Most of that has been washed through the system, but the cloud revenue growth going forward, I'm not looking for great cloud revenue growth out of our current PBX product. Is what it is. I'm looking for great revenue growth out of the new solutions and out of the UC upgrade to that. So I would say on a very short-term basis, yeah, we're going to see moderate growth, flat to moderate. We maybe see possibly flat to moderate growth. On a longer-term basis, and I'm saying longer-term in FY22, we will see the new products kick in and growth accelerating.
Okay, so the next question, I'm going to read it verbatim, and then I'm going to try to give it a different spin slightly. So, how many customers or potential customers have said that they will switch to your digital engagement solution after the Altigen API and Teams is ready? So I think what they're looking for is what kind of conversion rate maybe do you think you might see?
Well, that API is ready, so nobody would have said that in advance because they couldn't even look, couldn't do anything until it's out there. So what we have today, probably have around 30 or 40 customers that you've either, put a small pilot in or have purchased the product, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we're at the tip of the iceberg, right? This is just getting out there. But there's a lot of traction and a lot of momentum because nobody else does what we do. Now, I should point out, maybe this is too much information, but I should point out that the initial release is voice only. So we're doing a nice job and a better job than Microsoft does of routing and queuing voice. So if a call comes into sales, I'm going to route that to the appropriate person in the sales group. What we're rolling out this quarter is SMS, web chat, and email, and hopefully also social media that will add into that. So all of these different message types, this digital media is coming this quarter. And so we have a lot of customers, looking for that as well. So between the two, yeah, I think really time. It's really time. So I think it's not if, but when we're going to see this really take off.
So another question from someone is with the Fiserv opportunity, how easy do you believe penetration of those opportunities, individual opportunities are going to be?
Well, I guess nothing's easy. But we have the solutions now that Fiserv wants, right? And we've had a little bit of a struggle in the past because some of our technology, our legacy technology, was good enough, I guess. Acceptable, maybe is a better word. But the new solutions that we have rolling out are ideal. And some of the, our older stuff was kind of holding Fiserv back. So I don't think it's easy. They do have a captive audience. They have, they own these, I don't want to get them into trouble with, monopolistic practices. So I'll change the word own, but they have a tremendous influence over these customers that they're selling millions of dollars a year of solutions into. And they do the integration. Well, they pay us, but they offer and only offer the integration to the Altigen solutions from these communications products. So it's very difficult now that we have what they need for a competitor to go beat Fiserv at their own game to sell those solutions.
So I believe you said earlier in the presentation that Altigen has an exclusive relationship with Fiserv. Does that mean that Altigen is the only provider that Fiserv uses?
Virtually the only provider. They have on the very high end, as a result of their merger or acquisition with First Data Resources. They have some other solutions that they've put together, not a single vendor, to try to deal with their very large customers. And again, I'm talking about the Bank of Americas and Citibanks. But for the mid-market and for those companies that I identified, yeah, we are the only solution set that they market into those companies, that segment, which is the biggest segment.
Okay, thank you. There's two questions I'm going to sort of combine into one. The first part is, could you summarize the last 2 quarters regarding the flattening of revenue? And the follow-up question to that someone else asks is, what will you say in response to impatient investors who believe that Altigen is in danger of becoming a perpetual wait until next quarter story?
Well, I'll start with that one. Yeah, that's my fault, because I thought I was going to have the solutions out earlier. And so what I can say is, yeah, I didn't deliver, guys, like I thought it would. But now these solutions are on the doorstep, so it's going to be a different story going forward. I can't tell how quickly the revenue is going to ramp, but I can at least say we're going to have the solutions launched, and this will be different than what we thought we were going to have, let's say a year ago. The flattening of revenue is two things, right? That we've got our legacy product is pretty basic, right? It's not even UC, it's PBX, right? We can take phone calls, can't do the other things. And we've done a nice job, I think, of converting those premise customers to the cloud. That's where the revenue growth has come from and the profitability. But it's slowing because we're not, that particular solution isn't competitive with what people want to buy today. Therefore, we're launching a new UC platform, which will be available end of October. So that will put us in great shape as far as that. We're going to be extremely competitive with the companies you mentioned earlier for a lot lower price point with that solution. The other element that caused the flattening of revenue, so they didn't have these solutions, was COVID. And when we lost these customers, there's pretty much no way to recover once they went out of business. So it is, we are certainly dependent on the new solutions. It's not like we're crossing our fingers and hoping this will happen. We've been working on this for a long time. I was a little too aggressive on my target dates, but I think we're going to see it different going forward.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Appreciate the time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the questions, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.